for joining us today. I guess if you're able to just introduce yourself initially for everyone, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. Great to see you. I'm Danny Gao, co-founder of a company called ProTeams. We're a freelancer marketplace platform, and I've got a couple of non-exec roles as well in the RegTech and SaaS industry. And I've spent about 15 to 17 years in the RegTech space.
Wow, so yeah, you've been in it a while. So along with that, can you tell us a little bit about your first role in the RegTech industry and how you got started?
Sure. So my first role was at a company called Complinet, a mid-sized compliance tech company before RegTech was ever called RegTech. And I joined with the goal of being in a smaller business, having just come from a very large company. And as soon as I joined almost, they said, "Welcome to Thomson Reuters. We've just been acquired." So Thomson Reuters was creating a GRC risk compliance strategy. And they didn't really have that many assets internally. So they were essentially acquiring, and Complinet was one of the spearhead acquisitions, which then led to a flurry of other acquisitions. So that was 2009, 2010. When I joined this industry now known as RegTech, then was just compliance or compliance technology.
Yeah, I guess it's changed a lot, right, from those early days.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why I got started was I saw this. At that time, it felt like a lot, but this huge amount of more regulation coming to companies. I was super interested in financial services and also wanted to go and work for a smaller business. So there was this piece of going to work for a smaller business, being involved in an area that was really growing and booming, and sort of this space of financial services was really appealing. Yeah, and two of those got met because I ended up at a bigger business, but we still ran as a very agile small business within a large corporation for quite a while.
Yeah, like keep trying to keep that small business mindset whilst being, and pace and everything in a bigger organization, I guess.
Exactly. We kept it for about 5 years before we got swallowed.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive, I'd say. So were there some key milestones in your career that you'd say that helped you progress to where you are today?
I mean, we had a great opportunity. We acquired about 15 businesses within the space of 3-4 years. And I was always the one who was got given the more tough stuff that others weren't successful with. So I know you're interviewing a few colleagues. There was some what I call easier things that we were able to sell and some harder things we were able to sell. And I definitely got caught up with the harder things, but with that gave opportunity, because once we were successful with that, I moved into management at a pretty young age, and sort of had global teams, which I never would have had the opportunity to do if we hadn't have become part of Thomson Reuters and if we hadn't made these acquisitions in this space. So that was pretty key for me.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And I guess, well, you probably covered that slightly with if you got stuck with some of the harder things. But were there challenges that you faced like early on? Like what could you give us an example of what they were and like how you overcame them?
We had a bunch of different tech that was all not integrated, that all didn't speak to each other, in some ways competed with each other, and we were told go to market with this and be successful with this. And so I mean, some of the challenges was trying to work out where these areas integrated. Obviously from a tech perspective took a few years before that happened, but initially it was more around 10 minutes ago they were our competitor, now they're part of our business. How do we work on this together? How do we make this successful together? We were bad mouthing this company 5 minutes ago, and now we're at a conference together with them. Not like we were ever really doing that in practice, but certainly it was definitely bringing in competitors or certainly peers in the market. We were all moving into that together. There was also differences of functionality that sort of overlapped as well. So they had this functionality, we had that functionality. How does that now work together? So there was a lot of those challenges in the early days of this space as we were integrating different businesses, different cultures, different companies together.
Yeah, and I guess you had to understand where some of those like things that you perhaps had the same thing, had to combine them together so you're actually making something better, right? So there's lots of opportunity there, but yeah, it's probably unpicking all of that was quite difficult, I imagine, at the start.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the big things was adapting to change. And for the people
Mm-hmm.
who really struggled with that, found hard. I love change. Change brought opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was definitely pro a lot of the opportunities because it just led from one thing to another from there.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So I guess you've seen, well, if you were around really early on and then like have been in the industry for pretty much the whole time it's really been called RegTech, as you said. How have you seen the industry evolve since you started? Like what sort of specific trends or features are you seeing like that's kind of happened over the years?
Yeah, I mean, initially there was us and a few other vendors and suppliers in the industry, and then it went from a few others to 10 others, and then 10 others to 100 others, and then to 1,000 others. Like the
Yeah.
RegTech industry, when people talk to me about like RegTech, it's a very, very broad industry. It's not
Mhm.
just sort of one small area. Now there's probably, I don't know, a few thousand companies within the RegTech space at least. I'm not sure exactly how many, as you may know better than me. Um,
It's
but
definitely up
but
there. Yeah.
but definitely in the thousands now, and so that's definitely evolved initially from very much point solutions and then more complex integrated solutions. um yeah, and I'll talk a little bit where I see the future going in a moment, I'm sure, but definitely in terms of the involvement has been about the going from transactional to more complex, going from more point solutions to more end-to-end solutions, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess as that made it will have made sales and the competition a lot harder, right? Because it obviously started out so small and there wasn't a lot of people doing it, which you had to learn quickly. But then actually, there's people doing similar things now, so it's about having that unique selling point for particular products and services, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that brings opportunity in it. Competition is a good thing. It ensures that everyone doesn't stay idle and they keep evolving and they keep innovating.
Yeah.
So again, I was always pro that opportunity because
Hmm.
that really does mean, while it means you've got more competitors, actually it means there's also different, it's a big space and
Hmm.
there is a lot of opportunity for a lot of suppliers. It doesn't need to just be a small number.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I mean, do you want to list or have a think about some of the trends that you sort of see shaping the future for 2025 and beyond? Like, what would you kind of see and say in that?
Yeah, I think certainly from 2023, for the next 5 years, so probably up to 2030, 2028, we're going to see a lot of consolidation. We're
Hmm.
already seeing that. There's been a huge number of M&A acquisitions, private equity. I'm being asked almost daily about what's my view on a certain topic related to X company or the industry in general. So we're definitely
Hmm.
seeing consolidation across the industry. We're also seeing consolidation not just from RegTech suppliers, but you're actually seeing more of the technology companies going, what is this thing? We're starting to see our industry being disrupted more by regulation. How does the use of AI, but also just technology companies more generally that are not necessarily financial services regulated, starting to sort of see how much compliance, data, AI, etc., are impacting their business, and they're all building out compliance teams now, pretty big compliance teams in a lot of the corporations as well. So, big trend in non-financial services and big trend in consolidation overall. And obviously, I have to say it, but the use of AI is obviously becoming a huge trend across the reg tech and legal industry in general. We're seeing a lot of investment going in to that space as well. So, yeah, as you see, a lot of financial services, they have thousands upon thousands of people doing quite a lot of pieces that could be done utilizing AI, and we're certainly starting to see that disruption happening.
Yeah, it's I think it's really gonna have a huge impact this year and beyond. I mean, it's not going to go away, is it? It's only going to get bigger and more, well, more challenging from a compliance point of view, I think, in terms of like keeping track of it, but also the opportunities that are that come with it are huge as well. It's balancing those and making sure, I guess, like cyber and anything else, like it's staying in the right hands and used in the right way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Absolutely. So obviously you've talked about how you were, you were younger when you started in this industry, and then you've like worked your way up and progressed quite quickly. So like, what advice would you give to professionals hoping to transition into like leadership roles within RegTech that might be similar, have sort of similar dreams and aspirations that you had?
I think first I'd say focus on your personal expertise and your personal niche, but also focus on your company's area. I often saw a lot of RegTechs moving into different spaces that were not their own. And I always say try and stick in your lane as much as possible, be the best in breed in what you are and be focused on that. You've got a lot of big banks, for instance, that will want a RegTech to do 20 things for them and be the one solution. Yet more than likely, they will never be very good at being those 20 things. And they're better off staying very focused and being very good at that 1 to 5 things. So, I mean, from a company perspective, being focused, from a personal perspective, also being focused on your skill set and where you're best. I mean, from a overall leadership perspective, there's not that much difference between being in RegTech compared to being in FinTech or MarTech. Like the same principles, are there. Obviously, within RegTech, they're understanding the regulation and understanding what that means. Understanding a lot of it is down to the globalization of a lot of the businesses. So it's not just looking at UK regs or US regs, etc. It's looking at whichever countries those companies operate in. So really understanding that regulation and that impact, and just getting to know compliance people, risk people, governance people, and understanding what keeps them up at night, what keeps them busy, what actually their day-to-day looks like would be a real key piece as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely understanding those challenges so you can really help and answer them and be useful, right? Otherwise it's you're not really speaking the same language. So are there any like habits, skills, or mindsets that have been critical to your success? Would you say? You probably covered a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think firstly I'd say always focus on the right KPIs, know what the business needs are. So I often see a lot of individuals where they go, oh, but I was asked to do this project or that project, or I was asked to do all these things, and actually that took them away from what actually the business saw them as successful with. So I think always remember what you're there for. What if you're in sales, your role is to sell. If you're in marketing, your role is to be doing marketing. Try and be as focused as possible on being best in breed in that, rather than getting sort of spread too thinly across different areas. Secondly, like I always saw my job there, and my team's job was always there to help. We were only speaking to people to help them. And I think going in with that mindset of you're not there to sell, you're not there to pitch, your job is to help people that need help. And also if they don't need help, that's okay too. You can add value, you can provide them advice, but yeah, your job is there to sell the solution if they need that. And then I always say to people, start doing your next job while doing your current. So what's a really good view in my mind is if they want Helen to be able to be X role, if Helen can already be showing she's almost already doing that role, Helen's a very good choice for that next role. So I think keep absolutely laser focused on your current role, but if you can show what's needed to be able to do that next at the same time, that would be another bit for the skills and ways of working.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout, because at least then it helps you, I guess, as well, just to focus on what your next move is and always be thinking that next step ahead, right? So absolutely, really, really good shout.
And I always tell anyone, I always say, think 3 steps ahead. Not I don't normally say this in a career perspective, more in terms of a sales area, but if you are also thinking about it in a career perspective, is where do you want to be 3 steps from now? And you can already start being very mindful around that. I do a lot of work with people on their personal development plans, their 5-year, 10-year plans. What steps can you do today that's going to help you be able to be doing that in 5 years, 3 years time? So understanding what that looks like 3 steps ahead is absolutely key also for a career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think it's just otherwise you end up getting quite tunnel vision and realize, oh, I've been somewhere 5-10 years and haven't moved. You're quite comfortable there, aren't you? But you're actually like, well, have I grown? Have I done anything different? Like, I guess it totally depends on your appetite and how much you want to change and grow and progress. But yeah, it's definitely good to keep that focus. Are there any like resources in terms of like books or courses or even people who have influenced you or things that you could be like, oh, that's something I really remember or found really helpful along the way?
Yeah, I mean, a huge amount.
I'm sure.
Firstly, I'd say in my early days was a sales process and methodology called Strongman. It was a guy called Ed Val and Ruston. They came and done training. They've done in-person training. They had a book, but they were pretty amazing. Um, in the early in it's certainly for people up and coming in their career, and you can still get Ed's book now. The next one I think probably a bit later on in my career was the Challenger Sale, which was Matthew Dixon, Brent Adamson, who also had a book. And that challenger mindset, that challenger approach was something that I try and instill in any people today. I've had amazing mentors throughout my career, all the way through. So I had amazing people that were super senior, and I'd sort of recommend to anyone, if you can, try and find some mentors that can help you along the way. Might have been incredible along that. And I'll just give a couple of others, which is Mike Weinberg. He's also got a book. I think everyone I suggest has also got a book now, but he's got a book called New Sales Simplified. And Jeb Blount, he's got Fanatical Prospecting book. But those two I sort of still look at, and a lot of the content that comes from them and the information is super relevant. So I think there's probably 5 books you've all got to buy and a couple of mentors you've got to get, hopefully.
Yeah, that's great. And I think some of those, that it's great when you find something that stands the test of time. And I think lots of the ones I've been recommended over the years and people I've follow and like even like Giles, our CEO, he's recommended things that are probably 50 years old, but actually they still stand the test of time. And there's still principles in there that you can learn from today. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Good to Great is on the bookshelf, and everyone that I ever meet talks about Good to Great as a
yeah,
general business book. So yeah, that's definitely one as well if people are
absolutely.
interested in that side.
I think I literally had that conversation with Giles last week, actually. Good to great, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So just moving on to your previous work with Gung Ho, and appreciate that might have been some time ago, but like how did working with Gung Ho impact your previous company's like growth during your early career?
Yeah, so I've worked with Gung Ho a number of times over the years in different companies I've worked at, and I've recommended to Gung Ho to a number of others, companies and clients that I've worked with, and always been fantastic choice as a partner to work with. I think my big piece for advice when working with Gung Ho is see them as an extension of your team, and then it will be successful. If you see them as an outsourced external company that is not part of your team, then it likely won't be successful.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, they've been fantastic for every business I've worked with that have been using them. And yeah, just make sure you are integrating them as if you were having a new joiner, a new team come onto you and work with you. And that's always led to success for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things we always try to encourage people to do is think of us as an extension. Don't think of us as a separate outsourcing agency, because yeah, it won't work. We've got to be integrated and understanding everything about your business so we can effectively be part of it. So it's good to hear that from you as to be the biggest successful way of doing it. So and were there any like specific things that you like successes that you've had that you can kind of attribute to working with Gung Ho, or is it that tangible, or is it
Yeah, it's definitely that tangible. It's probably a bit sensitive to name specific
of course,
companies
yeah,
we
yeah,
won,
yeah.
but we definitely won a lot of clients directly as the result of working with Gung Ho. I also saw a lot of promotions, both at Gung Ho as well as within our team, due to the work we done. So like, it wasn't just winning clients and that was it. It was also, we also done a lot of like successful test cases where we tried new things, we wasn't sure about something, and we worked on new ideas as well. Generally, I found best working with Gung Ho was something that was proven. So I would prefer that we done more of the test internally and then worked with Gung Ho on proven, because I wanted Gung Ho to also, like, Gung Ho needed to feed off the success. The more success they had, you could see the motivation in the team, etc. So one bit of advice is, don't suddenly just throw all of your test examples at Gung Ho that are probably going to be, some will be successful, some won't. You really want Gung Ho focused on where your success is and just getting more and more success for you. But yeah, we had a lot of promotions, we had a lot of customers won as a result of the relationship as well.
Okay, and that's really interesting to hear about testing versus like sort of the things that you know. I guess because you can build up momentum more easily, right, with something that you know, and you're not trying to figure it all out together. And I mean, there's some elements of that would work, I'm sure, but it's a good way of thinking about it for sure. And I guess just one final one on that. Is there, like, what would you have said that really made is it probably the fact that we do act more as a team? I don't want to put words into your mouth, but like, what would you say was the sort of difference between Gung Ho and another lead generation agency, for example?
I think the main difference, certainly more senior people within Gung Ho helped. Yeah, they weren't just fresh out, and they sort of knew what they were doing and they knew the style. The other thing is very focused on the industry, and you understand the challenges and the pains and the problems in detail than someone who's calling every other industry in the world and then suddenly coming to RegTech. So I think, yeah, a mixture of the senior people as well as understanding the industry and being focused on this industry really helped.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we've really tried not to lose as we've grown, is just to maintain that expertise, because otherwise you are just a generalist, aren't you? You don't really get as much success, and you don't resonate with the clients that you're working with or the people that you're speaking to. So it's
and the other thing is that the continual feedback loop. Like, we worked as an extension of the team, so we tried things, we came back together. It wasn't just go off and do this and good luck. There was a lot of back and forth and collaboration and what's worked, what hasn't, to try and figure out where to improve things, where to change things, for sure.
Yeah, you have to have that continuous discussion, don't you? Otherwise you're never learning, or you're left in the dark and just going off on down one rabbit hole that might not be working. So
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I'm just going to end on one final question, which I guess is probably back to more of the sort of career type things, but really anything. Like, it might be a bit of a tricky one to put your finger on, but like, looking back at your younger self, what's one piece of advice that you would give to like your younger self at the start of your career?
Yeah, this one's quite an easy one actually for me, which was, you don't need to be someone else, and be authentic and be you. The reason why I say that is I spent a lot of my younger days trying to pretend to be more senior, trying to pretend to be more experienced, trying to pretend to be more older, because I was always like the youngest in the room, youngest on the management team, youngest on the leadership team. I always felt like I had to pretend to be older. And then someday someone said to me, Danny, we chose you, or you were in this role because it's you. And it does make you realize that actually I didn't need to spend all of that time earlier on trying to pretend to be, wishing I had grey hairs. Now I definitely don't wish I had grey hairs. Now they're all coming through. But yeah, that's one piece of advice.
Yeah, it's having that imposter syndrome, isn't it? Like, you think, oh, look at all these older people, I shouldn't be here. But yeah, that you're right. There's a reason that you are. And yeah, I guess it helps with your confidence too if you're just you. That's how you got there. Yeah, no, that's a great shout.